So if we ask people what the ideal life would be, I'd imagine there'd be a lot of different answers. To have money, to live a fancy life, to make a name for yourself, to have fun, or to be comfortable and just enjoy life. The answer, it really depends on the person. For example, St. John Neumann, he said something very different than these answers. He was speaking about the dignity of the person, and it really applies well to here. He said, everyone who breathes, high and low, educated and ignorant, young and old, man and woman, has a mission, has a work. We're not sent into this world for nothing. We're not born at random. We're not here that we may go to bed at night and get up in the morning, toil for our bread, eat and drink, laugh and joke, sin when we have a mind, and reform when we're tired of sinning, rear a family and die. God sees every one of us. He creates every soul for a purpose. He deigns to need every one of us. He has an end for each of us. We're all equal in His sight, and we're placed in our different ranks and stations, not to get what we can out of them for ourselves, but to labor in them for Him. As Christ has worked, we too have but to labor in them for Him. As Christ has His work, we too have ours. As He rejoiced to do His work, we must rejoice in ours also. Every person, brother and sister, every person here exists for a reason. There's no accidents with God, and there's no mistakes in His works. All people are part of God's plan, and God does have a plan. It's something we saw in the Old Testament. The prophecies, they all pointed to Christ who fulfilled them. And His plan involved the woman that we celebrate today, the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the title that we give her is Mother of God. And there's a lot of meaning in this title. We see that God bestowed a tremendous grace on her, because this title basically tells us that God bestowed a tremendous grace on her. And it's something that no other person in the world will receive, to be the mother of Jesus, to be the mother of God's Son. And as she lived this vocation and participated in the life of Christ, we see that God was preparing her for another grace, to be the mother of all of us in the order of grace. And it wasn't just a single moment that led her to this vocation, but it was a lot of little decisions to cooperate with God that prepared her for this. For example, the Gospel told us that Mary was attentive to the life of her Son, that she kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. And I can only imagine that she was like this her whole life. Some of the stories that we know about her tell us that she was presented in the temple as a child, and she lived there. And when she was there, it was a place where she could study, she could pray, and she was of service to the temple. And so she grew up in an environment where she could learn about God, which enabled her to be intentional about living for Him. And every yes that she said to God, it prepared the way for greater graces later on. The responsorial psalm in the first reading, they spoke about God blessing His people. And the greatest blessing that we've received from Him was the gift of His Son. But today we celebrate another blessing in the Blessed Mother, without whom we wouldn't have Christmas and God wouldn't have become man. She became a blessing for us because she said yes to God. John Paul II, he once commented on this. He said that this yes to God showed her readiness for the gift of self and her willingness to accept a new life. Brothers and sisters, as St. John Neumann said, we're not here to sleep or get comfortable in life. We're here to become saints. And saints are those who, like Mary, say yes to God. They're ready to give of themselves and are willing to accept the new life that God wishes to bestow on them. It's true that we're never going to receive a grace like Mary's, who became the physical mother of Jesus, but we can, with her help, learn to say yes and give thanks to God for all the graces He gives us. He wants to bless us, and He's done this through His Son and also through the Blessed Mother. And when we live intentionally for Him, He'll not only bless us, but as we grow in holiness, He'll bless the world through us.